I've been wanting to do a roundup of Frederic Malle fragrances by category, like I did with Hermes, so here we go. Being that we're in the throes of a very hot so far and humid, nasty summer here in New York City, I'm starting with the citrus fragrances. So I've got 4 citruses here today. I've probably talked about these before, as I've also showed my Frederic Malle collection, but I thought it'd be nice to have these neat little videos encapsulating them by category so we can compare how the house deals with certain scent profiles. First up is Bigarade Concentree by Jean-Claude Elena, maybe the most talked about or most recommended out of the line. It is maybe the reference orange scent. It really focuses on kind of the pith, and you get a sense of the orange peel and the orange rind. By comparison, the other day I sprayed Atelier Cologne's Orange Sanguine, which is also hyper realistic, but to me that one really smells like orange juice. And what distinguishes this is more than being a realistic orange smell, I think it also works as a perfume, as a fragrance. It's more than just that. I've pulled up the notes from Frederic Malle because some of them I hadn't read in a while and I found it kind of interesting. So they cite bitter orange, cardamom, pink pepper, cedar, and then it says eau de cologne redefined. Luxurious in its apparent purity, like a crisp white shirt. And yeah, I really get that. I won't read the whole blurb, but yeah, it has like a handsome, crisp white shirt quality to it. I'll spray a little bit. You can smell right away that the spices add a nice bit of depth to keep it smelling too foody or too much like an orange, like an orange candy. There's no sweetness here, thankfully. I get a good amount of greenness as well, sort of a green freshness along there. I think if I smell this blind, I wouldn't necessarily get cardamom, but reading the notes, I can see that here. And that it's sort of a soft, warm spice. Bigarade Concentree lasts decently well. Like most colognes or citrus, it doesn't last forever, but like many Jean-Claude Elena, you are left with sort of a lingering spice and vague woodiness. He's known for using a lot of ISO-E. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of forming the cedar foundation. But for me, it doesn't bother me, and it's not quite as airy as like some of the Hermes scents that Jean-Claude Elena did. There's a bit more density. It's a bit more down to earth and solid. But yeah, I think the spices are the real key to elevating it and making it quite a bit more interesting than just a plain orange spritzer. I've used body products in this scent, and the lotion in summer particularly is really, really nice, and they smell dead on the fragrance. You can see I've used a good amount of this because I spray liberally, maybe half, and I think I got this 3 years ago, so I might have to upgrade. There is the original Bigarade, which I remember reading once someone who said they preferred that, which made me curious to try it. So I have tried that at the store. They smell very much recognizably the same. This isn't a flanker. It is really just what it says, a more concentrated version. The upside is this will last you longer. The downside is if you want the cologne experience of something you spray on and disappears, you might prefer the regular Bigarade. And for variety's sake, I may just go with 100 ml of that when I run out of this. But they really more or less smell exactly the same. Sometimes a cologne going away is actually a good thing. If you want a fresh out of the shower spritz and want to wear something else later, maybe you'd prefer that to something that lingers a bit longer. But it's really the spice. Again, the woodiness doesn't stick out to me. I imagine it's giving some sort of backbone and longevity. But again, without the suggestion of the notes, I don't think I would immediately clock cedar or any woodiness in the base. But really lovely, really kind of like handsome, well-groomed quality to it. Like it says, that white shirt quality. It says an overdose of extremely refined, and it does have a refinement. It's not too bitter. It's not, there's like a real clarity to the notes that I also associate with Jean-Claude Elena that I appreciate. It also mentions a woody base of hay and cedar. Heralds a new generation of an ocean of sophisticated freshness. I don't know about an ocean, but it is definitely sophisticated freshness. You know, it's funny, the power of suggestion, I'm really getting more and more cardamom now. I'm familiar with cardamom in my baked goods. I love a cardamom bun. I have some Norwegian ancestry, and so during the holidays we make cardamom flavored desserts, and I'm really smelling it now. That's interesting. I always just thought of it as vague spices and orange, but yeah, I think the cardamom definitely, it is there once you get the suggestion of it. Next up, one I don't own, Outrageous by Sophia Grossman. This originally was a collaboration with Barney's Co-op, which was sort of the more sportswear, more accessible and young Barney's kind of offshoot. I think there were more Co-op locations than there were flagships. So it was meant to be a younger, fun fragrance, a bit like Acne Studios. And I believe I mentioned this in that video. And it was considerably cheaper at the time. When Barney's closed, they folded this into the main line, which is nice, and got rid of the Barney's special label. This is one sometimes I come back to and I think, wow, I actually should have bought that. It's almost like I kind of discounted it because it was out of the main collection and it was sort of meant to be a more cheaper, more accessible perfume. But now that I smell it, it's quite interesting. It's got quite a prominent but kind of strange sweetness up top. Let's see what they list. Bergamot, tangerine, green apple. So the apple is what I'm smelling. Cinnamon, musk, beach samba nights. Dancing on the beach, bursts of orange and blue in the low light, crashing waves, and the ecstatic laughs of the young and sexy. An explosion of bergamot, tangerine, and green apple. So interesting. I also did not remember that green apple aspect. Yeah, it does smell a little younger, maybe because of that sweetness. You can smell a bit of kind of a recognizable designery base. I think there's a good amount of ambroxan or other materials that we associate with long-lasting, fresh designer fragrances. But I would say it's subtly dosed. But it's a pretty nice fragrance. I've worn it once or twice in summer. It does have like that nice, long-lasting kind of vague ambroxany cloud, but the green apple is definitely there. It adds kind of a juiciness, a greenness. But yeah, there's a little bit of a sweetness I'm getting now. Again, for Frederic Malle prices, is it worth spending that kind of money for something like this? It is still on the cheaper tier of their prices, but it's still quite expensive, I think, for what it is, which is maybe another deterrent for why I haven't actually gone for a bottle. Next up, it was among the first Frederic Malle fragrances I ever bought, and I hemmed and hawed about between Bigarade Concentree and this one, Cologne Indelible, and it also happens to be my scent of the day right now. This one to me is actually very interesting. I remember quite a few reviewers comparing it to Neroli Portofino, and to me, there's almost nothing in common other than the genre. It's like if you couldn't tell Chypres apart, just every Chypre you smell, you compare back to like one other Chypre. Yes, it's orange blossom. Yes, it's based on sort of a traditional Cologne 4711 accord, but that's where the similarities end. To me, this is all about how interesting I find the musky base. The base that's actually quite warm and smells nothing like Neroli Portofino to me, or the base of Neroli Portofino. Neroli Portofino is actually quite a bit brighter and quite a bit closer to just that original, like a luxe version of the original 4711. This to me is really a funky, futuristic take on Cologne, because it smells at once somewhat natural and beachy, but at the same time, it has this really deep, warm, musky, like warm skin accord that I find super interesting. The performance is also interesting. Sometimes those musks take a while to get going, and I've had experiences where I sprayed it and thought it disappeared within an hour or so, only to like way later in the day start to perceive it more and more and more and more. So it's like those musks almost grow throughout the day. And I have several like specific memories of just being home after being out in the hot, nasty, humid weather, and being home and just still smelling this just radiating off my skin. And that's really what sold me on it and made it kind of my first choice among the more citrusy fragrances. And yeah, I just have a lot of memories with this one because I bought it when I still only had not so many perfumes, and I feel like we embed a lot of memories when a new purchase is so special. That's also something good to keep in mind, maybe to slow down our purchasing habits, that when you're buying so much, it's hard to really form memories and deep connections to fragrances. But this one I feel like many deep connections. I can remember several specific times. It really reminds me of summer. But again, it's not very bright. It's not like a bright, refreshing kind of cologne. It's that deep, musky skin. Let's see if there's anything else interesting here. Musk is notorious for having two faces, the pure and the wicked, accentuating its binary character. Produces a perfume both innocent and irresistible, split between a clean cologne accord of lemon, bergamot, and orange blossom, and a seductive white musk. I can totally see that because yes, it's that clean. I get a heap of neroli. It has an oranginess to it, but doesn't smell like oranges in the way that Bigarade does. What's so fascinating and masterful about this, however, is that those facets ride all the way to the base, so it never becomes pure musk. But even like 12 hours later in the base, I still get facets of that opening, of that orange blossom, of that oranginess. But to me, this is like a deep, like late sunset red, in between red and orange, of like a really deep, dark orange on a super hot evening kind of sunset smell. So that's interesting. They're contrasting, this sort of animalic, sexy skin, smell of skin with the clean associations of cologne. I remember at the time, obviously the name Indelible, it was all about how they had used through kind of perfume magic these musks to extend the life of a cologne infinitely and forever. And it does go on forever. But I will say it can come in and out of your perception. And I could understand if some people are nose blind to this and they don't smell the base at all. Interestingly, it also lists Narcissus along with the musks and orange blossom, which also I think is probably lending to that kind of mysterious, deep and dark feeling. Finally, we have Sal Gosse by Fanny Ball. This one, again, was kind of not a collaboration, but a bit of a special fragrance in that it was meant to be based on childhood themes. I may have misunderstood this, but as far as I know, I don't think it's necessarily marketed towards children. It's just a fragrance that is maybe going on childlike themes or invoking childhood. Could be worn by children or younger people, but I think it's a perfectly fine piece of work. It doesn't smell immature. It doesn't smell watered down for kids. I remember a sales associate who often have bad information telling me it was long gone, it was a special edition, but it's fully back in stock now on the Frederic Malle website. So I don't think this was ever meant to be discontinued or meant to be a special edition. What distinguishes this is there is a semi-sweet bubblegum accord at the beginning, but again, it doesn't go too sweet for me. I don't really like sweet fragrances. I have a pretty low threshold for sweetness, but it adds a sweet, I almost sometimes imagine the smell of like balloon. Like I imagine maybe again, it's the marketing playing on your brain, like a big pink balloon about to burst on a sunny day and it's filled with maybe like lemons and oranges. So it's just a hint of sweetness to kind of, recall that like pink, really generic, like the gum that everyone thinks of. But along with that are some other interesting, it says violet. I do get that. I get a little bit of like a violet candy thing. And this also has a nice long musky dry down. I remember for a while thinking that Cologne Indelible and Sal Gosse had a similar dry down. And I think they're not a million miles apart, but they are definitely different. This is brighter, again, a little bit sweeter. This is a little bit more animalic, a little bit more, bodily type musk. But I enjoy the variety of both. I think probably amongst these, I still do find, even though the top notes are quite different, the biggest similarity between Sal Gosse and Cologne Indelible. What else does it say about Sal Gosse? Petitgrain, neroli, bergamot, rosemary, infused with a cheeky smile of violet and strawberry for a taste of bubblegum, old-fashioned sweets and getting away with murder. And I believe, again, that Sal Gosse means little brat, like a bratty little child, and it has this cute artwork on it as well, which is really nice. Yeah, really cool. So yeah, here are 3 fresh, specifically citrus fragrances from Frederic Malle. I always think it's interesting to compare what else is on the market. I've got Mason Francis Kirkjohn Petit Matin, which is also sort of a musky petitgrain lemon. In comparison to Cologne Indelible, that's a lot brighter and also feels like it has a little bit more of that designer scent profile, but that's also a really nice one for a long-lasting citrusy experience. I do like, in particular, I'm really a sucker for Orange Blossom Neroli, so that's why I don't mind having all of these. I almost can't have enough variations on that in the summer. I like the way it's split between a floral and a citrus smell. I just find that a really interesting and intoxicating fragrance, especially when it blends with your skin on a hot day. So let's have one last smell just to see. Yeah, Bigarade sticks out as the most interesting. It's that greenness. It has a real, I always get like things bursting in air all around you with Jean-Claude Ellena. He creates that sense of three-dimensionality in the way that his perfumes project and wear. Cologne Indelible, yeah, it's muted. Don't expect Cologne Indelible to fill a room no matter how much you spray. It's gonna stay close to your skin, but it really smells like a part of you. It's muted, but it really is very long-lasting. Outrageous. Yeah, this is almost unexpected for Frederic Malle. That kind of designery ambroxany dry down is really starting to come out. It's more the kind of thing you might expect in like a Xerjoff citrus fragrance. And finally, Gosse. Yeah, I still get that interesting sweetness, rubberiness, violetiness intermingling with kind of the muskiness and the orange blossom sense. So there we go. I'll come back with more. We're in summer and we've got flying creatures and big trucks outside. Sorry about that, and I'll see you next time.